Hi everyone, I'm Jack and today I'm here to share some of my summer reading recommendations. I know that in the UK at the moment the weather is terrible and it's raining and horrible. It's definitely not summery, but I know that many of you will have now finished your exams and you'll have a lot of free time and you'll be on your summer holidays. When I've got a lot of free time, I love to read. It's a great way to relax, and I thought that today it would make sense to do a video sharing some of the books that I really love that I think you should read as well. It's kind of inspired by my main channel, Reading with Jack, which is a booktube channel in which I do book reviews and book hauls and I talk about everything bookish. I'm only going to be talking about 5 books today in this video, but if you want to hear about any other books or just want to hear about these ones in more depth, definitely go and check out my channel. I would really appreciate that, and if you're interested in books and you enjoy this video, it's definitely something that I think you will enjoy. The first book that I'm going to recommend is my favourite book, so out of all of these books I'm talking about today, it's the one I recommend the most. It is called The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This book is set a few years after the Spanish Civil War and basically deals with the character of Daniel Sempier, who is taken to this place called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. It's a place which is kind of like a library. There are so many books there, thousands and thousands of books, and as a young child, Daniel Sempier, who is only 10, has to select one of these books and kind of devour it and protect it for the rest of his life. The book that he picks is called The Shadow of the Wind, and it's a very dark, mysterious book. There are so many secrets behind this book. The novel kind of deals with his exploration of these secrets, which include the fact that someone is out there burning books by the author who wrote The Shadow of the Wind, who is called Julian Carax. I would recommend this book if you're looking for a very cultural, historical read about Spain, and if you're a very bookish person who loves literature, because there is so much discussion in this book about libraries and the importance of reading, how it shapes us as people. It's quite a long book, it's nearly 600 pages, but that is not something to put you off, because I think as soon as you start reading it, you'll be captivated, you'll want to know more and more, you want to discover the mysteries that have been uncovered. So it's a huge recommendation from me. The next book is also a cultural and historical book. It is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Dower. This is about World War II and the effects that war has on children. The two characters that we have are a French girl who is blind and a German boy. They're both living very different lives in terms of the politics in their country. Their mindsets are being affected by the political ideologies that their countries are fighting for, but they do manage to meet, and it's a really moving, touching story. I don't want to say much because it might spoil it, but it just moved me a lot. It was beautiful. Some of the description as well was stunning. I would recommend this if you're looking for a historical read that will move you, that will make you think a lot about children. The third book that I want to recommend is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I think some of you may have possibly heard about this because a film is coming out later in the year and it's directed by Tim Burton. He's obviously a great film director with great visual effects, but I always think the book will probably be better just from the trailers that I've seen, and I think the book is so magical and fantastical. It deals with these children who are in an orphanage, and they basically are seen as peculiar children who are not normal. These children have special abilities and powers. For example, one of the girls can control fire. The children kind of go on journeys and adventures in this world, and it gets more and more intense as the trilogy progresses. Book 2 is amazing. These powers kind of affect the way they go about their journeys. It sounds kind of strange, but it's amazing. It's a really gripping read. It's also a really fast read as well. So if you're looking for a shorter read that's perhaps a little bit easier to get through, I think this is the one I would recommend. Now for a fantasy book that I would recommend, it is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. This is a book that I actually read this month, and it's my favourite book of the month so far. It deals with a group of people who are called Malfettos, who are basically feared in this world. They've survived a blood fever and they're seen as very dangerous because of that. The book starts with the main character Adelina being tied up to a post, ready to be burned alive. It just starts off with so much intensity, and this intensity continues. I thought Adelina was a really fascinating character because she's not perfect. If you're looking for a book where the main character is kind of flawed and is somewhat of an anti-hero, this is a huge recommendation, because for me anyway, she's one of the most fascinating, one of the most unique female protagonists that I've come across. And the final book that I'm going to talk about today deals with one of the most unique male protagonists. It is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a huge book. I think I put it off for about a year, but I regret doing that because it was one of my favourite books of last year. It deals with a man who is called Quoth, and he's basically this legendary figure in the world of the book. He's got this amazingly legendary status. There's a man called Chronicler who is trying to kind of write down everything that Quoth's been through. It kind of deals with Quoth telling his life story to Chronicler. It's part of a series, and this first book deals with his upbringing as a child, the poverty he faced, but also the highs and lows, his changing situations, and also one of the most intriguing things for me was his time at the university. It was fascinating to look at this magical wizardry university and compare it to the universities that we have in the UK in the real world. I really can't explain how much I love this book. I think the characters are spot on. Every single character, the main characters and the side characters, are developed loads. The plot is so fascinating. There are so many interesting themes about growing up, about poverty, about wealth, about identity. The writing as well is beautiful. There are times where it's very poetic, and I just couldn't help but admire Patrick Rothfuss's writing style. So everyone, that is it for today's video about my summer book recommendations. I would absolutely love it if you could tell me in the comments if you've read any of these books, or if you're planning to read any of them in the future. If you do decide to read them, please let me know how you get on with them and if you enjoy them as much as I did. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to know more about any of them, or if you just want to know more about any other books as well, please check out my channel Reading with Jack. I would really appreciate that, and I think if you enjoyed this video, you would enjoy the channel. So thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you all again next week in my next video.